Hello, hello, and welcome to the next episode of No Lids, No Limits with Kin and Arek. Hello,
Hi,
guys.
Arek. It's great to talk to you again. It's been a little while since we've been on this podcast together.
Oh my God, man, I have missed you so much. You cannot believe. So I'm really, really happy that you're here. But Kin, for the people that have not met you before, can you say a few words about yourself?
Oh, of course. So glad to. My name is Kian Leong. I'm based in Canada right now, and I'm a manufacturing professional with over 30 years of experience. Very passionate about everything about manufacturing operations, Lean Six Sigma, all those great things. How about you?
Yeah, well, I am actually based in Poland, which at the moment is probably a little bit colder place than Canada, unfortunately for me. But here it is. 20 years in the industry, worked for companies like DigiKey, Arrow, and Kimball previously, and now I'm working as a consultant in the electronic fields. And I am so happy that you're back. And always it's great to have a session with you and learn from you, Kin. So I've heard that you started a new adventure with another company, and any other interesting topics that you want to share with us here?
Well, there's lots. I know we both have started a few new projects and things that we're working on. One of the most recent roles that I've taken on is a new operations leading role. And it's so exciting, and it's a lot of fun because our audience know I'm very passionate talking about things related to operations and manufacturing operations and how we can do better. But it's interesting when I drop in this role as a new guy in the company that's been around for a number of years. A lot of the principles that I've learned through my Lean and Six Sigma training, when I look at this, everyone knows it, everyone understands it, but a lot of my team just didn't know how to apply it. And I think there is some perspective that maybe we can share with the audience.
Well, yeah, of course. Just lay your knowledge on us, please.
I'm going to actually try a presentation in this podcast. This is the kind of the first time, but I just want to share something that I had with my team. We talked about the idea of Lean Six Sigma, and everyone seems to agree to it, but no one seems to know how to apply it because the company has been working with some processes for over 20 years, and it's actually worked really well for them. What I saw as the new guy is, if we're going to go through some of these big transformations to onboard some new tools like a new ERP system or onboarding AI tools to make the process a lot more efficient. A lot of this goes back to the fundamentals. And so I put together this very quick presentation, which I want to share. Yeah, so, let's talk about that. We wanted to get on onto a new journey of Lean Six Sigma. But what is it? And I started with some definition. What do you think, Arek, is Lean Six Sigma? I know you probably know some of this, but sort of in layman terms, how would you describe to somebody who doesn't know what Lean Six Sigma is?
Yeah. We did it at one of the previous EMSs as well. And for me, the lean is just everything that you don't need. Just get rid of this and try to simplify things as much as you possible, but make sure the process is repeatable, understandable, and that you can measure it. So I would say these are the few words that I can say about this.
Yeah, that's a very good definition. A lot of people have different perspectives of lean, as I do as well. So lean is something that if it doesn't add value to the customer, it's fat. It's something that whatever process that we do in the company, looking at it from a value added perspective is important. And looking at that and trimming it to engineer out those steps that doesn't really add value, I think that's a really good way to trim it. And I think in your experience as a consultant, you probably have seen this many
Yeah.
times, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, I've seen it that these are processes that I love the phrase that we've always done it like that.
Yeah.
One of the phrases that I actually love with one of the previous company I've worked for, and I'm trying to live by it, is what gets you here will not take you there. And regardless if you're a multi-billion-dollar successful company or you're a startup, the process changes. And as you can see, with us living in electronics, everything changes so quickly. Then we just need to adapt. Some things that used to be important are becoming the fat now, and then we have to just move on and not like, hey, we still need to keep the fax machine because there might be a customer calling us from that. You know what I'm talking about?
Exactly. And, I recently just had a conversation with my colleagues, and he's said life was actually a lot simpler in a company when the
Mm.
company was a lot smaller. you have
Hmm.
fewer clients, fewer staff, and things that seem to work. It gets complicated when you start adding new staff. It gets complicated when you have different customers that you onboard. And this is part of the journey of how companies grow to become not lean, not because they're inefficient. It's just organic growth. And I don't know about you, Eric, but for me, my organic growth has been about 10 pounds since my wife learned to really become a good baker.
Yeah, I was just thinking about, I like the phrase trim it. Yeah, there are some things I need to trim as well. Yeah,
That's
we'll
right.
see.
But the Six Sigma part, this is the part that I think really I embrace because looking at Six Sigma, it's a big word. A lot of people don't understand what it is. But some people talk about the classical Motorola definition, but I think of it as doing it right the first time, every time. Not having to redo something. So really having a very focused objective of attaining the goal that we want within an organization. I know there's a lot of different ways to define Six Sigma, but I mean, really, the whole premise of it is to be very focused and be very goal driven.
Hmm.
What is your experience with Six Sigma?
Yeah, my experience was a little bit different because, as I said, my thinking of Six Sigma is more like, you need to define it in the right way so that when you repeat it, you know that you are repeating it exactly in the way you want it. So it's instead of more like do it the first time, is do it more times, but be aware, like being data driven, that you're doing it exactly as you wanted to do it.
Yes, and that's the process thinking there, and there's
Hmm.
nothing wrong with that. That is absolutely correct as well. But to explain this to a new team, I use this phrase: we shouldn't need to work harder. We need to work smarter. And when I say this, and I've always convinced myself this is what Lean Six Sigma is all about, is working smarter. I often get everyone around the room nodding. Oh yeah, of course, like that totally makes sense. But to sell an idea of Lean Six to a new team, I think this was the technique that and the tactic that I used that worked really well because right away, they're now willing to listen and are curious to embark on that journey. So I think you would definitely agree that working smarter and not harder is a great way to start this journey, right?
Yeah, because honestly, it doesn't mean you're lazy. It means you are utilizing the right tools to get the same effect, just faster and more efficient.
Yeah, exactly. So another perspective, which we talked about a lot in past episodes, is this idea of better, faster, cheaper.
Hmm. Yep.
I really, by this point, the team has probably heard me say the better, faster, cheaper about 10 times in the first few days I was working with them, and they keep thinking that yeah, Kin's all about better, faster, cheaper, and so this is my way of life. But it to them, it's a new way of working, a new way of thinking. Because if
Hmm.
we apply this lens of better, faster, cheaper in every decision, it brings a bit of clarity to really force us to ask the question: Is it lean? Is it driving towards the right objective? Right?
Hmm.
So the journey towards excellence is really can be put through this lens. The other thing that our team has often seen is seemingly, fixing problems twice, waiting on other people. I'm waiting for my customer's order. I'm waiting for my vendor to ship this. I'm waiting for that. Doing busy work doesn't seem to matter. This often causes frustration for teams. I'm sure you have experienced this as well, Arik, in things that you do.
Oh yeah, this is a hoax of mine. Honestly, it is not important for me how busy the person is. It is important to me how effective the person is. But now it's also haunting me. So I have a problem with some of those things around here as well. Yeah.
Topic On the topic of waiting and busy work,
Mhm.
I could share a story about a very interesting observation. I think all of us have been through airports many times, right, Eric? But
Sure.
I don't know in Poland, but at least here in North America, we're told by the airline, make sure you show up to the airport 2 hours prior to your flight,
Yeah.
right? Because you have to go through check-in, you have to go through security, you have to wait
Mhm.
for boarding. But, I asked myself the question, okay, it takes 2 hours, but really, if I could just walk through all those checkpoints and security without waiting in line between the getting off the taxi to getting on an aircraft in under 10 minutes, wouldn't you agree?
Well, 10 minutes, it seems like a very, very stretch for me, but like
We have
25,
small
30
airports here.
minutes. Yeah. 30 minutes should be exactly the number. And I agree with you. And also, I think a lot of people agree with you because the tendency I see here is that you would see less queues now for dropping off the luggage and people going on board with the plane with bigger and bigger luggages. This is exactly why, because they don't want to be that early in the queues and everything. They just want to go directly. So, yeah.
Yes, and you're absolutely right that there are multiple queues along the way between you and the actual aircraft, right?
Mhm.
But here's the perspective is, are the people at the airport being lazy and working too slow? Well, they're not. They're working really hard, in fact,
Yeah.
right? Yet these queues happen. We're waiting, but people, the airport staff are doing very busy work. You see the problem now. That
Mhm.
causes delays in everything. So I used the airport analogy in a previous role where I had to explain to our staff that one of the problems is it's because there's all these other issues that causes us to be not running lean. So it is a concept of one piece flow in manufacturing where you take the one piece, in this case, if you're talking about a passenger as a parallel, to advance a passenger straight from the beginning of the queue right to the end as quickly as possible and to draw that shortest path. So we all think, if I didn't have to line up at this check-in queue, if I didn't have to line up through the security queue, I didn't have to line up for this boarding queue, I should be on the aircraft in no time. And I know one of my another shared experience is I experienced this because when I was in my last trip to China, going on their high-speed rail. Oh my goodness! Like I just walked up to the train station, went through security, which had no queue, walked straight onto the platform, and I'm on the train in like 10, 15 minutes.
Mhm.
And if you experience high speed rail in parts of Europe, you probably go through the similar thing, unlike airports. Yet, it is just so much more efficient and faster because the railway companies and the operators tend to really have a different way of lean thinking. So yeah, I'm hopeful being that airports will be as efficient as HSRs at some point.
Well, they're getting there. You have many of dropping off points of your luggage as well. So they're trying to do, but that goes also to your triangle of better, faster, and cheaper. So it's better and faster, but not cheaper for the airport. So we'll see.
That's right. And a lot of this comes back to this point of trimming the fat we talked about
Hmm.
earlier in that slide. We've been in an experience where it just seems to be so much of a slog to get the work you need to get done because either there's just so much there to process. There's so many things you're waiting on. Again, if a customer wouldn't pay for a specific step in a process, why are we doing it? I know in every day of our work, some pieces of work we think, why am I doing this? Because the customer would never pay for this.
Hmm.
We don't pay to line up at the security line to get on the plane. We pay to actually fly. The trick is to find a hidden waste in our day. What is it that is wasting our time? What is it that we're doing that doesn't really need to be done?
Yeah, I would say I would take it a one step further. It's not only finding the hidden waste, but also really admitting that it's a hidden waste. Because, sometimes it might be the story that, oh no, this is needed because this one customer 3 years ago had this kind of need from us. Yeah. And it might come back.
I really like this one poster that I found
Mm.
online, and I think a lot of lean practitioners really embrace this. They use the term Timwood, which is very similar, but I really like this 8 forms of waste definition called downtime. And what downtime is an acronym. Downtime, the D stands for defects. If you get rid
Mhm.
of all the defects, you're no longer making the things that doesn't matter. No one's going to pay for defects. In fact, not even one. They just don't need it, don't want it, they shouldn't be there. The O in downtime stands for overproduction. These are the things that, things that we make that isn't really required. To doing too much work. The W part, which is the part we just touched on, is the waiting. The N is the non-utilized talent. Right? We all know in our organization, there's that one person that we kind of all question, like, what does he or she actually do? Like, is that of real value? Why is that person even here? It's not the person's fault. It's the management's fault. Somehow this position got created. Maybe it was useful 10 years ago, but because the company wanted just to keep this great person who's super loyal to company, and yet the role just never got engineered out, to be lean. Transportation, excess movements of raw material inventory. I always see transportation as being something that, when things get picked up, moved to another place, picked up again and moved to yet another place, and picked up again and moved to another place. Instead of going from A to B, from B to C, from C to D, just go straight from A to point D. That's much more efficient transportation. Inventory, of course, holding excess inventory in any organization is not a great thing.
Yeah.
And in my most recent role, I saw a lot of this. We had a lot of buffer places. We call it a buffer, but every time I see a buffer, I hear, oh my goodness, this is a one form of waste.
Course.
Motion, which is definitely there. Like if you're getting some person to zip back and forth between benches and workstations or between the areas to bring information from one place to another or carry something from one place to another, right? The information part is the part I find really fascinating. I've seen so many pieces of paper being moved from one desk to another in 2026. We talked about all the digitization and AI. Like, why isn't this piece of paper and the information on it digitally transmitted? Why does somebody have to physically carry a piece of paper, right? Have you experienced this, Arek? I'm sure you have touched on
Yeah.
this many times and seen it.
Many different things like it, but I would say that again, for me, it's people know that this is waste, but admitting that it's really waste and finding a way to really get rid of it and do it. That's sometimes they feel like the effort of getting the waste out of the system is just way more than eliminating the waste itself.
Exactly. And in the bottom of this poster, I really love this quote from Shireo Shingo, which is the most dangerous kind of waste is the waste we do not recognize. We see this around us all the time, whether it's in our workplace, at the airport, heck, it's even in my home. Yet somehow we accept this. So my perspective is always to look for it and do something about it. Really, I think consistency of eliminating some waste every day is a target. Consistency is king. It's looking for how to do things in a very predictable way every time. So we're not asking us to climb a mountain, but just like an example of climbing a mountain, it's one step at a time. If you take one step at a time, you consistently do one step at a time, you will reach the peak of the mountain.
And just to add one thing here, I love there is a graph of this ladder, and two people are going up the ladder. If there is a ladder with this really small breaks in between the steps, you're making this really small effort, but you're getting there. And then there is another guy with this big gaps, so he's reaching for the big things, but he's not gonna climb it that fast and that easy as you do the small incremental but stable, consistent steps. So yeah, for sure, I agree with you on this one.
Yeah, love that. In Six Sigma, we are taught to use a tool called DMAIC, which is, I think of it as a secret sauce. I mean, of all the lengthy Six Sigma training, besides aiming for the bullseye and being repeatable and doing the same thing over and over accurately, this idea of DMAIC kind of takes us there. And it's 5 logical steps. The MAIC stands for define, measure, analyze, improve, and control. And then it repeats all over again as this graphic shows. Define is looking at really what is the problem I'm trying to solve, right? So when we think of in the more of the scientific method, what is your hypothesis? If
Hmm.
I get rid of this piece of paper, will it make the process easier for everybody dealing with this piece of paper? As an example, measure. You cannot improve what you cannot measure. This is one of the key things and key ideas behind Six Sigma. If you can measure it, you can improve it. And I love the analogy, Eric, and I know we're both a little bit of sports and fanatics. Imagine playing, whether it's football or basketball or hockey, in my case, and I'm Canadian. Can you imagine a sport team playing a match and there's no scoreboard?
No, no,
What do you
no.
have? You just recreational sports at that point. You're not competing anymore. Just like in sport, where we actually measure the success by keeping track of score. Let's keep
Hmm.
track of score about what you're trying to improve. If it's climbing a mountain, well, check your altitude, right? If it's trying to change and improve a process, find something measurable and measure it. Because once you measure it, you start to get an idea of how big the problem is. Oh my God, like we are down 10 points, Arek. How do we catch up and win the game? Kind of a thing. You know what I mean? So this is the analyze part. Why is it happening? Why are we losing the game? How do we actually change? Do we need to improve our defense, improve our offense? What is it? Right? Make the improvement, fix it. Okay. Maybe swap the players out in the game, right? Again, using the sports analogy. And then go and do it and try it and then control it. How do we keep it fixed? Did swapping those players help now we're down only 8-0. Oh, now we're only down 5-0. Yeah, it's making improvements. And then repeating it all over again. Let's define, okay, how do we bring this gap closer? Let's redefine the problem. Let's reframe how to measure it. And then just keep going over and over again.
Yeah, I agree with you. And this is why I believe sometimes it's good to take, the external people like yourself or me, because you might not see those things and you might have an issue, or how do I really do that? And so, yeah, getting these tools makes perfect sense. I agree with you.
Right. What Lean Six Sigma is and it's not, and this is I think something I shared with the team I presented this to. Lean Six Sigma is empowerment to fix your own work. It's not getting Kin, the new guy, to go and fix all the problems in the company. It is not a way to cut heads of jobs. It is using data to make decisions. It is not pointing fingers or blaming people. It is making things simpler. It is not about adding more bureaucracy to what we do.
Yeah, like we talked
And
about.
I think this slide really speaks to the team, to the people, to empower them. And it's Lean Six Sigma is it's all about us, the people in the company, right? It's all about us looking at the problem, working together as a team. I think that's super important in embracing this journey. So, how does a team get started on Lean Six Sigma? I mean, quite simply, start small. Pick some pilot projects, set SMART goals. Have you heard this term, Arek? SMART goals?
Yeah, yeah. You have to measure them. Yeah, that's the acronym of several different things, but the measurement is the most important one for me.
Yeah, it's SMART stands for specific, measurable. You're absolutely right. The measurement. It's attainable,
Hmm.
it's realistic, and it's time bound.
Time
Right.
bound.
So a SMART goal might be to say, Arik, I'm going to help the team score 3 new points within this quarter of the game. So everything is measurable because 3 points,
Hmm.
we can definitely measure that. It's very specific. It's achievable, attainable, and realistic. And it's time bound, like within this quarter, right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
in a more business sense, might be something like we're going to improve production by 10% within the next 6 months or something like that. It starts with a lot of brainstorming. Just get the team. Okay, how do we now achieve that SMART goal, right? Brainstorm. Everyone has a great idea. We talked about in the other scenario where the management supposed to be the smarter people. We're just people. But the people working on the line, the people working in front of the customer, the people out there in the field, these are the people that have great ideas. And you want to involve them in that brainstorming session to get their idea. But plotting a clear journey, right? This is setting a plan towards that goal. And then just using these small tools to solve the bigger headaches. So start small. It all starts with a little seed and to grow from it. But the people are the people that each person in an organization holds a piece of the key to the success. I think of it that way. So I really love this graphic. And for the audience, the Easter egg is this entire presentation was devised and produced by my AI, my Gemini AI. I just gave it, teach me about Lean Six Sigma in a way that makes the whole thing very simple to understand. So for those of you who are listening by this point, kind of go, oh, kid, geez, like you cheated. No, I didn't. Like, I just love how this AI has done this so well and it presented the message in such a clear way for us. But the people, going through Lean Six Sigma, each person, him or herself, is the expert. They see the problems first, and everyone's eyes is important, and the ideas are important for the fix. So,
No, it's an amazing material. I mean, getting it done by AI, that's even nicer because I love AI I define it as a universal translator from different topics to different people so that you can understand it in an easy way. This has been very easy to digest. And I agree with the material. It's great to listen to those things and see the value of the people that we are able to change things inside our companies, the companies that we love for very much. And we want to be successful and get rid of the waste, especially after the long Christmas period and the New Year's Eve. Everybody has some waste, even on the production floor. So yeah, let's let's get rid of that.
Well, hey, it's been another fun conversation, but it looks like our time is up again, Arek. It's a lot of fun talking to you, and I hope that even without a new guest that we've got lined up in upcoming episodes, that you and I still get a chance to chat on some of these topics and to share our experiences. So, for anyone interested, drop us a comment. I'm happy to share this quick little presentation, or quite simply share the prompt on how you can create your own on Gemini AI. But yeah, drop us a comment and give us your feedback. If you've got any great ideas about Lean or Six Sigma, let us know. And we're also here to answer any questions that you may have. So thank you very much for your time, Arek, and thank you to the audience for staying with us.
Perfect. Appreciate the sharing knowledge, Kin. And as always, till next one. Thank you guys. Bye bye.
Bye.